We dictate MMA in South Asia. We're the most successful country. Pakistan does not even stand anywhere.
Combat sports looks at managers as, you know, oh, these are fucking scumbags. So these guys are taking advantage of the fighters.
Managing fighters, you know, it's an excellent job, and I think it's not as easy as चलो आप मेरे fighter को खिला लो, मैं fighter से 10% ले लूँगा. You know, day in and day out, I read their fucking contracts. They're happy they signed up with 1, 2, 3 fucking championship, but eventually 31 पेज का contract है. He has signed on all the pages.
उसको पता ही नहीं कि
without
क्या,
knowing the clauses. People are saying कि पाकिस्तान के against था तो ये नहीं खेला, वो नहीं खेला, ये सब चुतियापंती की बातें हैं.
That you say you approach 10 fighters. Out of 10 fighters, maybe one guy says yes.
Yeah.
You know, and so then there's a public outcry. Why didn't you choose these other 9? Or like, you know,
I've taken a couple of fighters to promotion and say, hey, this is the best. वो बोलते हैं अबे यार इसके तो 400 फॉलोवर हैं. इसे तो इंडिया में 400 लोग जानते हैं. ये कहाँ से टॉप फाइटर हो गया?
But what do you have to say to fighters who think that you're this mastermind that's trying to like ruin India's reputation in the mixed martial arts scene abroad?
Wow, man.
Why are we sending Indian fighters to get murdered outside? Like, you basically get their asses kicked.
Yeah. If I don't send Indian fighters, somebody's going to put Brazilian fighters or maybe Indonesian fighters or maybe someone from Nepal.
It's important to have that now on an international level to know that even if you look at random, like you see an Indian flag there, like okay, it's represented, ki hai bande.
आप ये देखिए कि साउथ एशिया से कितनी कंट्रीज से जा रहे हैं लोग. पाकिस्तान से कोई जा रहा है? बिल्कुल नहीं. श्रीलंका से कोई जा रहा है? बिल्कुल नहीं. बांग्लादेश बिल्कुल भी नहीं. Road to UFC means a ticket to UFC. So they're looking at prospects. They're looking at younger fighters.
24, 25
with an exemplary fight resume. Uloomi versus Himanshu की fight थी. Contracted weight था 61.2 kgs. Uloomi missed weight by 6 kgs. He missed weight. उसने 6 किलो से ज़्यादा पे weight miss किया.
Jesus Christ. That's an entire weight class, man.
If only one guy out of 24 or maybe 26 guys misses weight, they're fucking unhappy. Uloomi FedEx में train करता है और वो Muay Thai fights खेलता है. But जैसे ही वो fight हार जाता है Muay Thai की, वो video निकलवा देता है. And he doesn't know that there's Indian MMA Interpol, you know, who's behind him. We have all the videos.
Hey everyone, welcome to the LivMMA podcast. My name is Andrew Lu. Thanks for joining us. We've got a really special guest with us here today. The most hated man in Indian mixed martial arts. We've got Rahul Chhabra with us. Welcome Rahul. Thanks for joining us to the show.
Thank you, Andrew. तुम लोगों ने गांड मारने के लिए तो नहीं बुलाया ना यहाँ पे?
No, not at all. Yeah, the Indian MMA scene is still growing, stuff like that, and we don't know many people behind the scenes of what's happening, who's sending fighters, who's sort of like handling the fighters in the back of the scenes. And you are one of the few people who are taking care of the fighters back of the scenes, right? Where did your story start? Where did you get into MMA? How did all of this start? Like,
I mean, just to clarify, you know, I'm not the most hated guy, but people are jealous of me. I think all because of what I do, and I've been putting people there, and people don't comprehend the fight business altogether. So people are literally jealous of me. And if you are really jealous of me, let me know.
No, agreed. Like the fight game is very, very complicated.
Yes.
It's not like a normal sports event where you can handle it. Like, you know, there are proper channels to go there, right? So where did you start with managing? Or even before that, how's your MMA story develop? Where did you start? How did you get into it? Sort of.
So it all started, you know, almost a decade back, 2012, and Andrew, you know it well. We were all in the music scene, you know. हम लोग, I was a very bad guitarist. I'm a failed musician. I know.
I think both of us are failed musicians. Like,
so हमारे बहुत सारे दोस्त थे जो music बजाते थे, and we were all into heavy metal, doing gigs, and then all of a sudden, RSJ, you know, fell down. We lost Amit Sehgal, and you were working with RSJ.
I was there during the fall of RSJ, towards the end. Like,
So Rock Street Journal, you know, came to a halt, and there were no gigs happening. There was no Great Indian Festival, and
it all ended
GIR,
like one day.
What was that?
GIR, Great Indian Rock.
There was no Great Indian Rock, and then, you know, that was the time when everybody started in my circle transitioning to MMA. And
really?
You transitioned.
To be fair, my journey with MMA started in like 2003, 2004. So it's a very, very long time ago. So my transition happened much earlier. But a lot of guys, you are right though, a lot of guys from the music scene at the time had moved towards MMA, right? Like, so 2012 is where you said Biswaroop as well, from Undying.
And that's when I saw this movie called MMA Fighting for a Dream. Thank you so much, Juan Bhai. That movie was actually, you know, a game changer for most of us, because it opened us to a world of growing Indian MMA, because we saw UFC, we saw you know, boxing and other things. Boxing was pretty big then. Boxing was legit also, and that's when we saw this movie, MMA Fighting for a Dream, and it was crazy, you know. So that movie, you know, opened me up to a growing circuit of Indian MMA, and that's when I jumped into it. So I started connecting with people, and that's when, you know, we saw the advent of MMA gyms in the country. You know, Cross Train came. Siddharth had just come from the UK. He left his high-paying job in the UK, started a gym here, and all these stories were very fascinating because all of these guys, you know, they were starting a revolution which was purely founded on hustle. You know.
At the time there was nothing.
There was nothing.
No one
There
even
was
knew what
nothing.
MMA was,
There was
right? Like, I
nothing,
mean,
yeah.
it was, you couldn't even say like cage fighting because the concept hadn't even reached the country as yet.
And then I went to different gyms, started training. So I went to Cross Train, did a couple of classes, but it was far away. I was working as well. Then I went to Arun Sharma, did a couple of Jiu-Jitsu classes. It was very near to my house in Malviya Nagar, so I started training there. And then because of my job, I shifted to Gurgaon, so started training with Sensei Yashpal at Sanchin Khan. And that was the time jab ek chool machegi bhaiya hame bhi khelna hai. You know, I know you were doing Jiu-Jitsu, but I said, I'm pretty good with striking, you know, I can throw kicks. Because as kids, we all did taekwondo and karate. So I transitioned to, I thought I could do MMA. And remember that event?
Yeah, I was there. I remember I saw
that. That was Anshul's debut fight. His amateur debut. And then
Seth was there as well.
I fought at the same event.
2015.
और गांड फट गई पहली बार जब मुक्का लगा मुंह पे तो you know, crazy stories. But then I realized over the last couple of years that Indian MMA is something that motivates me because it's got a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. You know, it's a success story for a lot of fighters, and that was the time 2015 जब cage एक ही हुआ करता था. I think only SFL had a cage. You know, and we were fighting on mats. Even Anshul's debut was on a mat, like a karate mat.
To be fair, most guys during that time didn't even understand the content because there was no cage in India. When the SFL came in, this is what, like, I mean, for all you guys who are into Indian MMA, in terms of history of Indian MMA, the SFL was the first real big mixed martial arts promotion in the country that sort of held events at a grand scale. It was the first time I think a lot of Indians even saw a cage. You know, the circular cage. It wasn't in public consciousness then. And finally 2012 when SFL had come in, that's when it like sort of got bigger.
And SFL hosted a show in Delhi and we had Sunny Leone, Shilpa Shetty.
I remember that.
Event. That was the main event and we couldn't get through.
We
were like real MMA fans and
couldn't get
through. We couldn't get through and I said, this is shit. So उसके बाद से सोचा भैया अब circuit में घुसना है and I you know I've always been into MMA, watching a lot of Indian MMA, consuming a lot of Indian MMA, but I was not there with the guys right next to the cage, you know. I was more primarily focused towards my job, my career, my family.
And what is your job like? What do you do like apart from mixed martial arts?
I had general management for a European company in the country, but that's what I do.
Professionally,
That's what I do 9 to 6. That's what feeds me and my passion, you know. That's what feeds me and my family and my MMA.
And gives you sort of the freedom to work in the MMA circuit.
So I remember 2017 SFL season 1. That was the first time we saw teams format across the globe, you know.
Yeah, that was actually a big deal.
And now we see PFL trying to copy the same format. So I remember I started dating this girl then and our first few dates, Friday night, and I said, let me take you to watch MMA. And I took her to City Ford Auditorium and I told this girl, you know, that I know about this sport and I'm better than most of these guys there right next to the cage. They may hate me one day, which they do, but I'll
correction. They're jealous of you.
They're jealous, but I'll be there. And you know what? 2020, I took a major took a deeper dive into MMA. That girl is my wife now, and I'm like right there next to the cage. So I really worked hard for it. And then 2020 is when I decided, you know, just before COVID, I decided that I have to jump into the scene somehow or the other. And the best way I could see was running a media website. So I started One Dojo. While I was running One Dojo as a channel, I used to get a lot of requests from fighters saying, भैया fight दिला दो, भैया कहीं fight देख लो, भैया कोई opportunity है. So training with some of these fighters, you know, I realized that these guys are good. They're very skilled when it comes to fighting. But managing the outside businesses is not their cup of tea.
Yeah, there's not any fighter's cup of tea. It's too much for them to handle all of that stuff. That's why you have a team around them. You know, it's
true. And we don't have that phenomena in the country.
No, not yet.
Know? So I thought, why not? I mean, running a MMA media thingy is the most thankless job, you know.
Yeah.
I'm sure Juan would agree. He ran Desi Beat Down, which motivated most of us, wherein we could do. That was the only medium of, you know, watching local MMA scene, and it's a thankless thing. Every day you need to put out content. You need to still play around with SEO. You need to have.
You need to understand the web.
Exactly.
And in many ways, like I was talking about, I was talking to our producer Juan, just in case you don't know who he is. A lot of amateur Indian MMA back in 2012, 13, even professional MMA was viewed through the history of his lens.
Yeah.
Right. So if you want to watch a lot of Indian mixed martial arts fights, you can go down to Desi Beatdown and check out a lot of fights there. You'll find a lot of Indian fights, a lot of old school fighters. Right. And that kind of sort of grew into this, what we have today. Right. Into an industry that we have today. So in terms of like your job profile in MMA, what exactly do you do? So you manage fighters? Is that what the thing is?
So MMA mein abhi itna scope hai that I think if we jump into the MMA circuit, if a guy is intelligent, we can do a lot of stuff. We can do a media.
But do you mean intelligence in terms of media intelligence or in terms
just
of
street smart? You know,
street
be
smart.
Street smart.
Okay,
just be intelligent, be street smart. You need to know how to make your way out. Be good with people. Sometimes be diplomatic. Always be politically correct on camera. But I think you can do a lot of things. You know, MMA media is still dominated by a couple of media channels right now. MMA Media show is an old one. We've got Locker Room who are doing excellent, but again, there's no third channel, you know. I did one dojo, but I've stopped it because I thought it's a lot of time investment without any returns. Then managing fighters, you know, it's an excellent job, and I think it's not as easy as chalo aap mere fighter ko khila lo, main fighter se 10% le lunga. You know, day in and day out, I read their fucking contracts. And it saddens me on how MMA contracts with the fighters, it's still one-dimensional. It's all favor towards the promotion.
Of course, that's how more. If unless some governmental intervention comes in, talking about the Ali Act and things like that, it's the only way to change mixed martial arts contracts. If that doesn't come in, we are going to continue having restrictive contracts. It's a very sad and terrible aspect of the industry. But it's something that hopefully maybe in the future we can change, right?
I mean, let's hope. I think we need a revolution. All the fighters need to be together and strike it really hard.
That's never going to fucking happen.
I mean, come on.
I'll tell you, honestly speaking, because in maybe team sports, right, there's this thing of unity and playing with each other. The problem with MMA is everybody's fucking out to get it for themselves. And it's fine, fighters. You guys are supposed to get it out for look out for yourselves. But because of that mindset, it's like, you know, like, fuck you, what's mine? That's what happens. It took boxing decades for them to get to like the Ali Act, right? And it's going to take a long time for mixed martial arts to get there, where there's governmental protections in terms of athlete rights, which I don't think they have much right now. In fact, the United States just recently passed a ruling declaring that there will be no compete clauses now for any employees or even independent contractors. So does that apply to the UFC? You know, things like that. Like, it's a widespread governmental law, right? So it's things like that that will change the industry with actual government intervention. Apart from that, like this, we're going to have to deal with, you know.
You know, I think...
Just a question there. Did you think that Indian fighters were badly represented? Did you think there was a space for you to come in there?
Of course, I think there has been a massive gap, and sports management as a subject is catching up. You know, nowadays we see sports managers in football and in different sports. Fuck cricket. You know, everybody watches cricket. IPL, gaand maar rakhiye sare sports ki. You know, I'm talking about from the lens of a sports management as a discipline. So we definitely need managers, you know, just like we need camera guys, we need producers, we need broadcasters. Similarly, we need managers because our Indian fighters don't come from cities. None of them studied at DPS Arkepuram. You know, they come from Rohtak, they come from different smaller towns, and trust me, they don't comprehend English. Forget about a contract.
Yeah.
They're happy they signed up with 1, 2, 3 fucking championship, but eventually, 31 पेज का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है. He has signed on all the pages.
उसको पता ही नहीं कि
without
क्या, हाँ.
knowing the clauses. And you know, to talk about UFC, even UFC was on the verge of getting sued. You know, the antitrust when Brandon Vera was a party to it. And that was a class action lawsuit.
A whole bunch of people. Josh Thompson was in it. I think John Fitch was in it. I think in some ways Mark Hunt.
Kang Lee was there.
Yeah, Kang
Brandon
Lee,
Vera was there.
Nate Quarry. Like a whole bunch of guys actually got together. But again, this is how the corporate ball rolls. The UFC got away with it with what, 330, 340 million?
350 million.
Something like that. Yeah, and that's it. That's basically what they make in a night, man. Like, you know. So again, going back to government intervention in sports.
But I think that sets a precedence. You know, tomorrow if I as, by the way, I'm a law graduate too, so that helps me comprehend contracts. And tomorrow if I go and sue a promotion, I have a precedence.
Yes.
The same thing happened with the UFC. And I think that really empowers the athletes. So बहुत ज़रूरी है athletes के लिए कि वो अपना contract पढ़ें. This is MMA, local promotion जो हमारे गली मोहल्लों में होती है, गुड़गांव में and you know Bombay and other places. कोई मर भी सकता है, कोई मर भी सकता है.
And there's no regulation.
There's no regulation, and you know it's very difficult to host events in Bangalore now because in one of those kickboxing fight nights, one of the guy literally died. He died, and since then the police has stopped giving permission to any fight nights.
Because of the fact that there's not as much regulation in India, it falls on a lot of outside forces to sort of take care of the fighters. In your opinion, is important for the selection of a fighter to head to a promotion like a PFL or a Bellator? What do you think a fighter needs to have in him, or what do you see in an Indian fighter so that he might, in inverted commas, succeed or win in a competition there?
Yeah. So a bit of background here. जब भी हमारा कोई fighter बाहर जाता है, जीतता है, nobody talks about it. Nobody even fucking says congratulations. You know. Yesterday we had this guy Ehtisham Ansari fighting at Naisa. Nobody knew about it. You know, until he won, and now he's undefeated at Naisa. So unless it's a known fighter who people have been following on social media, nobody congratulates. But जब हार जाता है, everyone wants to make noise. Before I actually get on to the selection part and the term selection, you know, karate combat. एक महीना पहले वॉन भाई एंड एंड्रू, एक महीना पहले when I approached fighters, मैं fighters के पास गया, मैंने कहा कराटे कॉम्बैट है. अब fighters were like, ना भाई मेरे से वेट ना कटेगा, भाई के है कराटे कॉम्बैट, कराटे है भाई. Others were like,
essentially they were giving fighters 4-week notice for the fight. Is that where
yeah, that's how karate combat works. 4 to 6 weeks. And I went to the fighters, and the top tier fighters in the weight divisions that was given to us, you know, Sanjeet would have taken the fight. We would have negotiated a bigger contract, a hefty paycheck for him, but Sanjeet was injured. Others refused. People said, no, I'm an MMA fighter. I don't want to fight karate combat.
So a lot of people don't know that this is what happens behind the scenes, right? Yeah. That you say you approach 10 fighters. Out of 10 fighters, maybe one guy says yes.
Yes.
You know, and so then there's a public outcry. Why didn't you choose these other 9? Or like, you know, that kind of...
I mean, selection is the better terms which people have been, you know, using.
That's why I use that term, yeah.
So fighters refused, and everyone said, karate? No karate. Karate has been the butt of all the combat sports jokes. You know, karate has earned a bad name over the last couple of years, last couple of decades actually. And the only good thing about karate, in my opinion, was Karate Kid, the movie, and that's it. And now it's karate combat.
And even then, like they changed the entire story of the Karate Kid.
Yeah, that was Kung Fu.
Yeah, the Kung Fu kid in China calling it karate. It's the most like politically.
To China, so again, there's a theory behind it. So, लोगों ने मना किया, मजाक उड़ाया, and then karate combat, India versus Pakistan happened in Dubai last Saturday. Was a big success, big hit. उस viral content को देख के every fucker, every chutia in the country became a Shifu, Sensei, Hanshi and a Soke. Everyone fucking earned a black belt, you know, that night. And everyone's like, who's doing the selection? For your kind information, there is nothing called selection in pro MMA या pro fighting में. Selection, trial, ये amateur words हैं. ये चुतियापे होते हैं जब फेडरेशन होती है कि इंडिया से बच्चा कर्जा लेके कहीं बाहर जाएगा खेलने, तो आप करते हो एक सिलेक्शन, एक ट्रायल, जिसमें आप अच्छे बच्चे को जो पैसे नहीं दे पाता है उसकी गांड पे लात मार देते हो. That's the reality, you know. I'm just trying to be as crude as the reality is. I can be a bit polished and say that trials is for the amateur ones, you know. But for pro MMA, there is no trial.
Your
know
trial
the
is your fights
matchmaker.
already. Yeah,
Of
you've already had the
course,
fights.
They have a topology. The matchmaker has a set of requirements. He's got a paycheck. I'm a manager. I have a professional relationship with him. और वो मुझे बोलेगा राहुल भाई पाकिस्तान से ये खेल रहा है या राहुल भाई यूके से या बेलफास्ट से ये खेल रहा है इसके अगेंस्ट में तुम्हारे पास कोई है तो बताओ. And he'll not only tell me, he'll tell each and every fucking management company in the world.
So it's like running through the
yeah. I mean, they mail. You know, Americans, they don't text.
The email.
They email.
Yeah.
Everyone's fucking emailing each other. And then I understand the requirement and I send them my bunch of fighters. And they select it. I mean, they choose it.
They choose a fighter.
They choose and then they offer a contract. सबसे पहला criteria ये होता है, a fighter should not have any contractual obligations with any other promotion in the world. Because सारी MMA promotions are a competition to each
Obviously,
other.
yeah.
You know, it's like people are saying कि पाकिस्तान के against था तो ये नहीं खेला, वो नहीं खेला, ये सब चुतियापंती की बातें हैं. You know, imagine
who's available.
Yeah, I mean, karate combat, सोचो कि USA में हो रहा है. You know, they're actually from Florida. US में हो रहा है.
हाँ, US में generally.
Then they say 70 kgs में Tony क्यों नहीं खेला, Conor क्यों नहीं खेला? Come on, guys. You know, they are signed up with the UFC. They will not fight at karate combat. Even if you give them $1 million, it's going to be unless
the UFC allows it. Yeah,
allows them, gives them an NOC. Nobody's going to fight. So ये तो चूतियापंती की बातें हैं कि ये नहीं खेला, वो नहीं खेला, and it's bullshit. It's rubbish noise, and I enjoy, you know, reading all the comments that's coming in.
So what do you have to say to the haters who, like, you know, who
you mean the jealous cunts?
The jealous cunts. You can
say it's unfavorable matches.
Yeah. So in many ways, who say that it's unfavorable matches for Indians? What do you
mean by unfavorable? Let's break it down. We had Uloomi, who's MFN's bantamweight champion. Uska record kitna hai? 9-6. Do you think that's a favorable record? 9-6 as a pro fighter who's 33 years of age.
Personally, a 9-6 record would just mean that he's almost 0.500. That's just all I'm saying. I'm being very curt in terms of a record like 9-1 would impress me a little bit more. 9-6 means
9-6 means you've taken somewhere at the lower end, you know, in the division.
Yeah, like slightly lower end in the division. And again, absolutely no disrespect to any of the fighters. I'm just talking about how promoters will view that record, you know.
So देखिए, you know, we are analyzing things here, and एक analyst जो होता है वो, you know, analyst will look at things from different lenses. You know, they'll put things under a microscope. And understanding that, okay, some people say Uloomi, you know, he's Kratos and he's the MFN bantamweight champion. Analysis कुछ लोगों को खत्म, ये तो उनकी गांड फट गई. And they say, oh, he's the MFN bantamweight champion. Okay. The next part is you say he's 9-6, and we say he's at the lower end. You know, no disrespect to Uloomi. Uloomi, I don't love you, I don't hate you, but that's what the reality is. I'm breaking down your career. You may be proud, you may not be proud, but that's the reality.
Yeah.
By the way, his brother talks a lot of shit, you know. I'll get to it. His brother.
That was
we're going to
you know, the animosity of India versus Pakistan, it's a drug.
I was just about to say that. Like, do you think that press conference could have gone a little...
It was all, I think...
Gone a little less... a little crass, a little garish, a little... the word is chapri. A little, like, you know, a little chapri. Like, do you think they could have gone a little bit better, or do you think the emotions got the best of these guys, India versus Pakistan thing? Like,
I think it's a lot of animosity, and it wasn't planned. It wasn't planned. None of us did our homework. Shahzeb also, Rana also, and I think they were very impromptu. They were going by the emotions, and that's what India-Pakistan is all about.
Yeah, it's always been like that.
It's always, and it's not a team sport, as you said. It's not कि अगर एक out हो गया तो दूसरा संभालेगा.
It's एक ही एक. It's one individual. It's one versus one, you know. So
So coming back to analysis, you know, 9-6. One bhai, you might want to open topology for this. So 9-6. You know, 9 wins, 6 fights. If you break it down,
you mean, huh?
Yeah, sorry, 9 wins, 6 losses, 15 fights. If you break it down, जो 9 wins भी आए हैं, it's against very poor, very less experienced fighters, and all the fights against experienced fighters have been losses for Uloomi. So as much as we think he's a god, he's not. You know, we've got better fighters than him. Then आप ये देखिए कि karate combat has different rules. It's not karate rules.
Yeah, it's
not
striking.
MMA rules.
It's like striking
It's
rules. Yeah,
customized
yeah,
rules,
customized.
you know.
Yeah.
You can hit a roundhouse kick on the, you can't hit it on the thigh.
Why?
That's the rule. That's the rule.
So you can't like spin kick him on the thigh,
No, not on the thigh.
and you can't leg kick him on the thigh.
Nope.
Bro,
No.
can you grab the pajamas?
No.
Oh,
I don't think so. I don't think
Calf
so.
kicks?
Calf kicks are okay, but not on the thigh. Calf kicks are
So
okay.
weird.
It's weird. You can't take the other person down. There's no single leg, there's no double leg as far as I know. But there are sweeps. And that's what we saw.
Yeah, you can foot sweeps and all.
And that's what we saw Himanshu doing it.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's appreciating those sweeps. They were absolute technical wonders, man.
Himanshu.
Wushu, that's like
Wushu.
101 Wushu. And again, Himanshu was one of the few guys that won, and we gotta give him props.
Guy
Yeah.
won.
The only guy won. You gotta give him props. Like, he put India, at least gave us a win, if not anything else.
So
right?
there's
He
a lot
made
of
country,
story which people don't get to see. They only see what's posted on Instagram, and then they start talking. So
how do you deal with Instagram hate comments? Like they
I love it,
they
man.
say all
I
sorts
love
of,
it. I pick my victims, I pick my victims, and I love Kolkata. I know you're from Kolkata. I love Kolkata. I love some of the guys.
I
out
don't
there.
love Kolkata. I absolutely
I can't say that. There have been a couple of shady asses from Kolkata who've been just trying to get into limelight by calling me. They're saying कि Rahul Chhabra trip मारने गया ये वो. It's fucking Dubai, man. A Dubai trip for a single person to and fro is not even 30,000 rupees.
And who goes to Dubai for a vacation? Like, I mean
it's not Singapore.
Yeah.
My wife and I, and I'm a family guy. I love my wife.
You have a son as well, right?
I have a son, and I would love to travel with them. Why do I fucking go to a fight week and eat all the sweets during the fight week and not go travel? I'll rather travel properly. Matlab, maybe for some Indians, getting a visa thappa on their passport is a big achievement. Big medal on their ass, not for me. So
basically you're saying, you choose the people you
I choose my victims. Yeah, I've chosen a couple of them, screwed them. They may be crying right now. So
no, but like, how do you in your head, how do you deal with this shit? Like, in the sense ki, like, these guys obviously don't know the background and what's happening. How do you deal with that lack of knowledge? Like,
I think it's okay. The circuit definitely is not educated enough in terms of MMA. When we go outside, when we look at fight weeks, this is my conclusion. I've been to one of the best fight weeks. I've been to most of the fight weeks actually, except UFC. And I see that we do exactly the same things that foreign fighters do. But I think we as a third world country, or our generation is way too serious about what they want to do. Hamare MMA fighters, they prepare for a fight as if they're preparing for an IAS examination, and they get so serious, they get so engaged to it that either unke liye ho jata hai aar ya paar. And that's when they get it. I mean, that's when they lose.
But in many ways, shouldn't fighters approach fighting like that, right? Like that the next fight is everything.
Yeah.
Like, you're only as good as your next fight, right? Like, or your previous fight. That's the saying, right? And in many ways, I look at fighters' mindset as that the next fight is your championship fight. It shouldn't even, whether you're fighting, Ram, Tintu, Shamu, whoever you're fighting, you're fighting the next. That's your championship fight. Like, in many ways, that's what I think fighters. And it also, what happens is, they tend to take things very personally, which is, I understand completely. Like, it's such a personal game, dude. You're walking in there in a cage and getting knocked out and getting the shit beat out of you alone. There's nobody helping you. There's nobody to hold your hand. There's nobody to pass the ball to if you fuck up. If you fuck up, it's all on you, right? So a lot of fighters take things very, very personally, and it's completely understandable. But what do you have to say to fighters who, like, who think that you're this mastermind that's trying to like ruin India's reputation in the mixed martial arts scene abroad?
Wow, man. Really? You think so?
I don't think so. I'm just saying a lot of people say crazy shit like that,
Chutias are always talking. So, okay, so to answer your question,
like, for example,
it's important.
Fighters fighting in international promotions, right? Just this year, we've had Vikas Rohil fight at the PFL, Bellator, sorry. We've had Edu Kondal Rao fight in PFL. And what's his name? Rana Pratap fighting for karate combat and all these other guys. Where do you see like the future in terms of like other athletes, other fighters in India from fighting in these different promotions? Do they have the skills necessary right now to compete at that level?
You know, it's
Honest, be very honest answer.
This question is going to be there always, you know. Understand there are two illustratives. One is the global scene will continue, you know, without Indian MMA fighters.
वो तो होगा ही होगा, हाँ.
वो तो होगा ही होगा. You know, if I don't send Indian fighters, somebody is going to put Brazilian fighters or maybe Indonesian fighters or maybe someone from Nepal. Nepal has a growing MMA scene. But I think it's very important that we open the floodgates, you know. I personally think me sending Indian fighters to foreign promotions and getting them noticed, you know. In fact, if you look at this year, all the big cards outside UFC has had Indian fighters. You know, we had PFL versus Bellator champions. We had Edukondal Rao there. Bellator Belfast, we had Vikas Rohil there. Karate Combat, you know, which is now a sensation, which is going viral, and it's going to be the next biggest striking organization. We had 3 Indians fighting there. Road to UFC has Indians, you know. Unfortunately, Kantaraj is not going to be there for this year. Maybe next year. But I think it's a part of the evolution, you know. The first and foremost thing is we have to open the floodgates, put our Indian fighters. We may be losing right now. In fact,
that was my question. Like sort of like a lot of people also ask. They're like, why? Like, you know, why are we sending Indian fighters to get murdered outside? Like, you basically get their asses kicked.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't know if a lot of people understand that a lot of the fighters who are contracted or whatever can't go and fight in these promotions, right? Like, what are your opinions on that?
First and foremost, it's there that जो भी हमारे Indian superstar MMA fighters हैं, they're contracted. They cannot go and fight at foreign promotions without a consent, you know, unless, I mean, जब तक उनका contract है, they can't go.
Or उनके like legal ramifications are quite harsh here.
Harsh, right? Yeah, but you know, that's the harsh truth. You know, it's like आज मैं किसी कंपनी के लिए काम कर रहा हूँ, रातों रात मैं उस कंपनी को छोड़ के बगैर अपने कॉन्ट्रैक्चुअल ऑब्लिगेशंस पूरे किए, आई कैन नॉट जॉइन एनी अदर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. बट आई थिंक, you know, it's a part of the phenomena, and that's how MMA, you know, Brazilian MMA grew. This is what I think. Initially, we have to be there, you know, sending Indian fighters to be there on all the cards. We may be losing right now. We may to khair kya, we are losing right now, but eventually, you know, the tables will turn, the Mars will be in retrograde, and we will start winning. And then we will move from undercard to main card, maybe then co-main event and the main event.
So,
and
in your opinion, do you think it's like a slow progression?
It is a progression. It is a progression, and I don't think so. It's a slow progression. You know, if you look at last year, आप 2024 की बात कर रहे हो, 2023 की बात करते हैं. I think only 3 Indian fighters won outside. January 2023. Babajit lost. You know, Feb 2023, Anshul won. Anshul won his contract. March, it was PFL Challenger Series, Vikas lost. And then all the good prospects who went outside and fought lost, except other 2. We had Priya, she fought at SFT in Brazil. She won. And then we had Ehtisham Ansari winning at Nisa. So only three Indians won. Anshul पहले जीत गया था. Unfortunately, Anshul lost at his UFC debut. But that, you know, it's a phenomena. It's a phenomena. And I think if we feed ourselves with this thing कि हम तभी बाहर जाएंगे जब हम champion बन पाएंगे. I think that era is not going to come because MMA. Let's not blame our fighters, first and foremost. Let's not blame our fighters.
Of course, it's not their fault.
I mean, a lot of people do it. मैं देखता हूँ लोग गालियाँ भी लिखते हैं fighters को. Why do you want to do that with the fighter?
What do you think they're saying? Like, I haven't seen these. Like, what are some examples that they're talking shit about fighters?
Like Anshul, you know.
Oh yeah.
I mean, everyone's talking. He represented India, and as Rana Singh said, Pakistan doesn't have any fighter even a road to UFC.
Yeah.
Forget about anywhere else. I think Pakistanis had a privilege at one championship, and therefore they've been going there. I love the scene, but I think I just hate the attitude. You know,
there is a sort of superiority thing regarding.
Fuck superiority. You know, what superiority for what?
Yeah.
For what? Like, there has to be substance.
Yeah, I agree.
There has to be a cause and effect.
I agree.
You know, if they are superior, if they think they are superior, you know, I remember when. Uloomi missed weight at Karate Combat. You know, he was supposed to fight at bantamweight. The contracted weight was 61.2 kgs or 135 pounds plus 1 pound.
136 pounds is usually allowed, yeah.
Uloomi versus Himanshu की fight थी. Contracted weight था 61.2 kgs. 61 किलो 200 ग्राम और उसमें 1 पाउंड का अलाउंस होता है जो कि होते हैं 500 ग्राम. हिमांशु ने वेट दिया. हिमांशु खेलता है फ्लाईवेट में, जो कि होता है 56.7 kgs.
So he made weight easily.
He made weight, and karate combat does not have a flyweight division. They don't have a 125 division. So उनका division start ही bantamweight से होता है. बहुत सारे foreign promotions में flyweight है ही नहीं. हाँ. Uloomi missed weight by 6 kgs. He missed weight. उसने 6 किलो से ज्यादा पे weight miss किया.
Jesus Christ. That's an entire weight class, man. He might as well have fought in 145.
He weighed in more than featherweight.
Jesus
तो
Christ.
fight थी bantamweight में, उन्होंने वजन दिया featherweight से ज्यादा. But because we wanted to make India versus Pakistan happen, हर बार नहीं होता है. 3 versus 3 नहीं होता है. So we wanted to make India versus Pakistan happen, and of course the paycheck was something that we were greedy about. We still went to the commission. We went to the promotion. हम promotion के पास गए. We went to President Awesome. We went to the commission and we said we still want to take this fight. हिमांशु ने कहा कि मेरे को उलूमी के साथ खेलना है, चाहे उलूमी कितने भी वेट का हो, क्योंकि हमने उलूमी की फाइट स्टडी कर रखी थी. उलूमी फेटेक्स में ट्रेन करता है और वो मुआय थाई फाइट्स खेलता है, बट जैसे ही वो फाइट हार जाता है मुआय थाई की, वो वीडियो निकलवा देता है.
That's a really bad idea. Like,
I mean, it's why do you want to do that? Come on, be an athlete. And he doesn't know that there's Interpol in MMA, Indian MMA Interpol, you know, who's behind him. We have all the videos. Last fight he fought at Fairtex Fight Promotion was a Muay Thai fight. And he was fighting an Irani guy. I think it's a Mehndi guy. The guy knocked him out. Straight kick on the face. The guy was out. Uloomi was knocked out. और वो हर तरफ से इन्होंने वीडियो हटवा दिए. I don't know, it's coincidence, but I just don't have the video. I mean, people can't find the video. I have the fight video, thanks to one of my guys who was sitting there in the audience.
But has the event been broadcast or something like that?
Yeah, the event was live on YouTube. It's
so they basically cut
they fucking cut the entire clipping of him losing. Why would you do that?
That's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, I know.
It's criminal. Yeah. Forget about crazy. It's criminal.
I mean, I won't say it's go to as far as say it's criminal.
If you are an MMA fighter or a combat sports athlete, understand, bite the reality, bite the bullet. Winning and losing is
part of the game. It's just it is what it is. Yeah.
If you are ashamed of losing, fuck, you can never win.
Yeah. I mean, look,
even if you win in a cage, you still be a loser.
No, not everybody is a Habib. Like, I mean, there's only two guys that have ever come in the history of mixed martial arts that have pretty much had undefeated records. I consider John Jones to be undefeated. So, like, I'm looking at John and Habib. 2 guys. And these guys are the elite of the elites.
Yeah.
Right? Apart from that, everybody has losses, man. Islam has losses. Dustin has losses. Justin has losses. Everybody has losses. Tony Ferguson, any of these guys, man.
He's still putting up shows. Chandler.
Pick up any UFC fighter right now. They will have some loss or the other. And if they don't, that means they're an incredibly good fighters.
Yep.
Right? You get guys like Ilya Tupuria once in a generation. It just doesn't happen just like that. You know, okay, undefeated fighters hote hai. It's not like people need to understand that.
I think it's all about accepting the reality. You know, if you remove your videos or if you want to portray a fake narrative to people, I think it's better you stop combat sports and become an actor.
Agreed. Like, I mean, look, if you're not, this is just a personal opinion as well. You need to accept the losses and the wins as they come, right? Like, I mean, I know it's a very cliched saying, but you either win or you learn, right?
True.
A loss will teach you what not to do. It's the same argument I have when people tell me, oh, like, you know, this guy lost to this guy. I'm like, then you have to look at his fights after.
But you know, Uloomi's loss taught us what to do, and that's why we were confident and we wanted to take up the fight. And we were not looking at 50% of the purse; we were looking at 150%. You know, the promotion was very disappointed. Promotion American hai. Americans are 100% professionals. If only one guy out of 24 or maybe 26 guys misses weight, they're fucking unhappy.
Yeah,
the promotion is unhappy. And hota hai yaar, MMA promotion hai. They've invested a whole lot of money to put up 12 fights. एक भी fight off हो जाती है.
Yeah, the entire production thing. Nobody
उसके बाद nobody gives a fuck about you. Nobody cares about you. You know, you are disregarded.
Yeah, and it makes big news, right? Like, this fighter missed weight. Missing weight is part of fighting. Like, as Indian fighters have to understand that making weight is probably it's part of the fight.
Yep.
If you're going to fight someone,
that's 90% of the fight.
It's 90% of the fight is making the weight. It's the discipline of making the weight, right?
Yeah.
So do you think that, how long do you think Indian fighters will take to start racking up serious wins? Like, you give it maybe judging from like, the state of gyms in India, the state of competition in India, how long do you think Indian fighters would take to say, like, I mean, I'm just giving like a ballpark figure, like say 3 years, 4 years, do you think?
I think 3 to 4 years, and sending fighters abroad is a part of the phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
For now, I'm the only one doing it, but I'm urging everyone to start doing it. If you think that you can manage fighters, do it. If you don't know, you can come and be my intern.
So for just a basic rundown, right? Like, you don't have to go into detail.
Yeah.
What does your job involve in terms of managing Indian fighters, right? Like, I mean, just as a surface level thing, you can tell the fans or the listeners, like, if you really want to, in inverted commas, get into management, what would you do?
So I think first and foremost is you need to understand.
You need to be a fan, right?
Yeah, if you are a fan and you want to transition into a manager, managing fighters, first and foremost is you need to understand the legal terms. You need to comprehend a contract, and you need to ensure that if you are or if you have a fighter in your roster, you need to ensure that जब भी उसका contract खत्म होने वाला है, either you put him to a different promotion or renegotiate. So negotiation is a part of the business, and it's a very important part of the business.
Which fighters are not
Fighters don't negotiate.
They're not equipped for it. Yeah.
I'm so blessed. I mean, my fighters are so blessed to have me because my fighters get the maximum purse. UFC has standard, papers. Road to UFC का है standard है. दूसरी fight standard है. When they enter UFC, तब भी standard है. PFL to an extent for bigger cards, they have a standard pay, but other promotions don't. So you negotiate. You negotiate. और कई बार ऐसे भी देखने को आया कि our fighters have fought at one championship. Our fighter was paid peanuts. और उनका एक चूतिया opponent जिसको उन्होंने मारा, that fucking guy was paid 10%.
Yeah. So basically, the Indian guy was called in to get his ass beat, basically,
exactly.
for lack of a better word.
I mean, and when you don't negotiate, someone may not even pay you. So negotiation is a part of it. Second, keeping up relationships. You really need to have a good relationship with the matchmakers, with the promotions, and the third thing is street smart. You need to be intelligent. If there is a requirement of a fighter, you really need to match it up. For example, Harsh Pandya is the only Indian to fight at PFL Mina's first card.
Yeah, he's fighting soon, yeah.
So PFL Middle East and Africa is all about Middle Eastern and African fighters. And I'm happy I've been able to put the only Indian out there. He's the only Indian on the card. Yeah.
That's actually, I'm honestly speaking, even as I didn't think of the fact that just putting guys out there and getting the name out there was something that, that had come up with me. It's important to have that now on an international level, to know that even if you look at random, like you see an Indian flag there, like, okay, it's represented, ki hai bande. What do you see in terms of like promotion and all of that kind of stuff in India? What needs to happen for Indian fighters to basically get the skills to compete at that level? Like, of course, we don't want to nobody wants to keep losing.
Yeah.
No Indian fighter wants to keep losing. Yeah. It's an embarrassing, and it's a very...
first and foremost, I think it's not shameful. Representing your country.
I agree.
Representing your country in a global card wherein it's all Americans and people from the West, all Europeans and Americans, and then, we Indians walk in. I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Just an example, Karate Combat. No one gave a fuck that Luke Rockhold is there, Craig Jones is there, Joe Schilling is there. The entire sensation was about India and Pakistan. So I'll come to the question.
They must have gotten a lot of viewers from India for that.
I think Karate Combat 45 is trending because of India Pakistan. And जितने भी वहाँ पे बाहर के लोग थे, Craig Jones and they were shocked. They were rather surprised. They were thinking,
a lot of them don't understand the geopolitics also.
Like India, they don't comprehend. For them, they were confused in their hand. I remember
like you guys are the same guys. Why are you guys fighting?
Exactly.
Like,
a Brazilian guy came to me and asked me, "You guys look the same. you look the same. You talk the same language. You eat the same food. Why is there a lot of animosity between both of you guys? Like, what's the reason for this?"
So you had to explain to them, like,
I said it's like Jews and Arabs. We love each other.
All right, Rahul, we were talking about like you've gotten Pawan to the road to UFC.
Road to UFC. Now, Road to UFC is actually Dana White Contender Series for Asia
version. Yeah.
Road to UFC का जो contract है वो Road to UFC के नाम से नहीं आता है, वो Dana White Contender Series के नाम से आता है. So when
the mixed fried rice of Dana White Contender
Series.
You
can say that.
The noodles of Dana White Contender Series.
Yeah. So जो season 1 था 2022 में आया था, we were not sure about what it is. We knew it's Road to UFC.
The
We
Anshul-
heard about
the-
Road to Brave, and then there was, you know, any feeder to a bigger promotion is known as Road. You know,
Yeah,
it's a cliche actually. So we were not sure about kya hoga. Anshul made it, and Pawan Mansingh made it. Pawan Man did an excellent fight. You know, he was. I think the only mistake he did was he's a boxer, he's a striker, but in that fight he wanted to be a wrestler, and which did not play in his favor.
Yeah, he went on a very grapple heavy.
And he was
game
just
plan,
trying to
yeah.
take him down, you know,
Yeah.
throw a suplex which he's never done in his life. So
And Jekka he had good takedown defense as
yeah,
well.
Jekka is good, and I think you know, Road to UFC has actually changed the entire paradigm of
Asian MMA. Yeah, I agree.
You know, Jekka has always been fighting in the lightweight division, but I think his loss to Anshul Jubilee taught him that he should find mojo in featherweight. So
Yeah.
therefore, he's transitioned to featherweight.
And he knocked a guy out in his featherweight
And
debut.
he's got a
Yeah.
fight coming up.
He's got a fight. Exactly.
coming
Yeah, he's got a
up.
fight
Yeah.
coming up as well, and a lot of people are excited about his
Yeah.
fight, right? Like,
Yeah.
so you were talking about like how the road to UFC is grooming. Are they looking at more Indian fighters in the future?
They're always-
What are their ideas about India? Like you must have talked to Forrest Griffin, and how is the UFC looking at India as compared to a place like China, so to speak?
Yeah, yeah. So Forrest Griffin is only involved with the PI. You know, for Road to UFC, the matchmakers are the same as the UFC.
Sean Shelby and Mick
Sean
Maynard,
Shelby and Mick, they have their own divisions and they matchmake. They're looking at real prospects from India, and they're looking at real fighters from India.
They must have seen the social media from Anshul and been like,
100%.
what the fuck? Like,
100%. Like, you know, Namaste UFC, India
Bas.
is here, and that thing went viral.
yeah.
And Anshul is a sensation now.
Yeah.
And I think that's what UFC is looking at. But simultaneously, I think we need to have more MMA at the grassroots level.
Yeah, I agree.
We need to create more fighters who can just go and fight there. You know, a sad phenomena which we see this year is there are no Indonesian fighters at Road to UFC.
Yeah, just one guy that they got in and then that was it, right? Like,
Yeah, Jeka won the contract last year. All the Indonesian fighters, though they have One Pride as the most active promotion, you know, Jeka is a product of One Pride. But this year, there are no Indonesian fighters. I mean, I hated that they have Filipino fighters. Sorry, Vaughn. But, you know, the MMA scene in Philippines is so bad. It's again, it's so tough to comprehend the scene, you know. It's full of fake fights. I think the only legit team that I see in
Lakay.
Philippines is Team Lakay. Yeah.
Team Lakai, they're the only guys. And even then, they have a lot to work on. Like, they take down defenses a little, you know.
Yeah.
So, Asian MMA, I guess, in many ways, is still developing, right?
It's still
Like,
developing, you know. Our fighters are one-dimensional, and slowly, I mean, a decade back, we only saw boxers, wushu guys, judo guys transitioning to MMA and still doing their only
You guys
thing.
must have forgotten about Brandon Vera and Mark Munoz.
Oh, yeah, Filipino. Hey, sorry. But they're...
Hey, fuck you.
You know, they're-
Have you heard of Kiran Singh Sahota?
We've heard, you know, Brandon Vera is as Filipino as Arjun Singh Bullar. You know, Arjun Singh Bullar, he may have Indian roots, but honestly, Kiru and Arjun, they don't represent the blood, sweat, and tears of Indian MMA. Therefore, the Indian MMA community will never consider them as Indians.
Such bole, Canada ka khana kha ke yahan pe, you cannot do all this, yeah. You have to eat Indian food, drink Indian water, be a desh ki dharti, as they say.
Yeah.
Son of the soil.
You have to be the son of the soil, yeah. And you have to be...
And Anshul is the son of the soil. Like, you know?
Anshul is the best representative of Indian MMA circuit.
To
He's
be fair,
been through the grind.
To be fair, also, like, I mean, Anshul is a teammate of mine. I've trained with him, so I may be biased here, but as a very analytical thing in terms of Indian fighters, he's probably the best fighter we have, even though he's lost.
Yeah.
Right? Skills-wise, mentality-wise, he's the best we have. I don't know, and that's the thing. What do you think is the secret to finding someone like the next Anshul? You know, where do you think that could come from? Like,
Yeah. So, I think...
And any advice for Indian fighters who want to be that? Like,
I think for Indian fighters, the only advice is keep on fighting, find legit promotions, find legit gyms, take on legit fights, put up a show, grind every day, improve every day. And that's the only mantra, you know. We saw Anshul making his amateur debut at Delhi the same way when Seth fought, I fought, and look at him now. You know, he's a different animal altogether. I mean, he's going to be, he's more than $1 million now.
You know, what I have to say about Anshul in terms of skills-wise is I was there with him for the first day he showed up in training at cross train. I trained with him day one. And then I trained with him 6 months later. that 6-month progression of Anshul Jubli was more than 10 years of what I had done in Jiu-Jitsu. So you have to understand what kind of special athlete, a person like that is. In 6 months, he picked up everything I learned in 10 years.
Yeah.
That's crazy, right? Like, which is, and I'm hoping that there are more Indian fighters coming that have that mentality as well.
And let's not say Anshul is gifted. He's hardworking.
Oh, he's very hardworking.
The moment we say Anshul is gifted, people will think they may not be able to become Anshul Jubli. Anshul is hardworking. We've seen him working hard ever since day one, as you say. He turned up at cross train, and till day,
to date,
he's
focused.
Yep.
Is in many ways, I'd like to also message to Indian fighters, like as Rahul said, keep fighting. Find a place to fight. And do you think Indian fighters should contact you to try and get fights? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I've been helping the circuit. When my fighters fight in the country, I help them for free. I don't help my fighters for free who are fighting outside in global promotions, because I think it's very important that all of us get paid.
Yeah. I mean, you're doing a job. You should get paid.
And I'm negotiating for them. And I have a cut. It's for sure. And it's not like main dalal hu, main dalal hu. It's a professional fee. A lot of people say that because jinko samajh mein nahi aata, that's what they say. But it's a profession. And it's a globally accepted profession.
Yeah, I don't think there should be any any negative connotation towards being a manager. Sure, look,
100%.
I'll be very honest. In many ways, combat sports looks at managers as these fucking scumbags, or these guys are taking advantage of the fighters. But if you don't have managers and you don't have people behind the scenes, it's very difficult to talk to promotions just as fighters.
Yeah, so true. And it's a bullshit statement to make that I'm exploiting the fighter or aisa kuch nahi hai.
What are your criticisms? People say that kind of shit, right? What do you think is the...
It's just foolishness, people don't understand the business. But the reality is, I'm approaching the promotions, and we are Indians, understand. Our our passport has a limited value. We getting a US visa.
Limited value is being very kind to the power of our passport.
Yeah, I'm a traveler too. Yeah. We travel the world, and we understand the amount of worth that our Indian passport has, Like my brother works in Dubai. He's a banker. He works in Dubai. और वो सीधे बोलता है कि भाई दुबई में नौकरी आपके पासपोर्ट देख के मिलती है. दुबई में आपकी जो तनख्वाह है ना वो पासपोर्ट देख के मिलती है. इंडिया एंड पाकिस्तान की सबसे लोएस्ट है. I'm sorry I'm saying it, but in many ways the visa challenges are real, and honestly, the promotions are realizing that India has a massive talent pool, and they have a massive audience as well.
Yeah.
The numbers,
Even if you catch 10% of the Indian population, that's 100 million.
100%.
Population. That's the population of what? 10% of European countries don't have that kind of a population.
Are international promotions like Bellator and Karate Combat recently, are they looking into, when you present them like a list of athletes, do they look at their social media profiles? And
100%. A changing trend in combat sports is
social media personalities.
Promotions are also looking at fighters who are content creators. Mehrab is an extremely excellent example. Promotions don't want a fighter. Imagine, and it has happened with me. I've taken a couple of fighters to promotion and say, hey, this is the best. वो बोलते हैं भाई यार इसके तो 400 फॉलोवर हैं, इसे तो इंडिया में 400 लोग जानते हैं, ये कहाँ से टॉप फाइटर हो गया. So that's the challenge. So they are literally looking at fighters who are digitally superstars,
who are aware also,
and who have a digital presence as well. मैं बाहर निकलूं 100 लोग आ गए, nobody gives a fuck about that. I make a post, it goes trending. That's what promotions are looking at, because they also want traction in your country. Of course. And UFC, PFL, Bellator and PFL are not the same. Thanks to them, they really help us throughout with the visa. Visa has always been a challenge, but I'm happy that with my guys, it has never been a challenge.
That also plays a lot in terms of selection as well, right? Like a lot of people don't have passports. I've heard of
this is, I think before working hard, Indian MMA fighters should have a passport. Coaches should also have a passport.
Yeah.
When Edukondal Rao, went to fight at PFL versus Bellator, his coach is apparently, I sent him for a camp at one of those known talked about gyms in Bangalore. I know Bangalore is shitty city as per you, Andrew, but उसके coach के पास उसका coach wanted to be a part of initially जब when fights are made for such big cards, nobody knows that it's for a banger of a card. But then we realized कि coach के पास passport की validity नहीं है. Passport expires in next 4 months, and Saudi is very strict with
very
these
strict.
norms.
I know they.
I mean, we are Indians, we supply them the maximum number of labor.
Yeah.
Warren and I traveled, in an aircraft which was full of laborers.
I mean, to be fair, like they refused. I also had a bit of a visa issue, and they refused straight up. They're like, no. I was 5 months out of my visa thing. 6 months actually. They're like, no. Even 6 months, we're like, no. We have to get a new passport.
And
like, oh, man.
And when I was looking for fighters for PFL MENA, I approached a lot of fighters, the so-called prospects across the country. And they're like, हाँ sir, मैं खेल लूँगा. And the next day, sir, passport नहीं है.
Shit. Yeah.
I mean, that's not my problem. You need to have... And the other challenge that I see with fighters is, we are so serious. As I said that we are so serious about MMA, that we need a lot of time to prepare. And most of the fights are made in a window of 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, 4 to 6 weeks is what
So
you
before
get,
Karate Combat, I approached a lot of fighters, including my friend Pawan Man, because I think he's an excellent striker. He could have done well, especially against Pakistan.
But Pawan can bang, like...
Yeah, I mean, but he was walking at 85 kgs, cutting 15 kgs
shit.
in 4 to 6 weeks
happening.
is a massive challenge.
Not happening.
Is a massive challenge.
Yeah.
हमारा पड़ोसी भाई 8-10 किलो नहीं कट कर पाया तो पवन मान भाई कैसे कर लेंगे?
So it's not gonna happen.
So fighters don't understand that, and then I think it's so difficult to convince people. Maybe because MMA is an individual sport, people are not united. Gyms are not united. Everybody wants to work in a silo, and they think that they are going to reach the pinnacle in a silo, but it doesn't happen.
Yeah, which is why the biggest teams in the world are usually like places like ATT. Of
and they're
Cliff.
good.
Yeah, where they have like a whole bunch of dudes like training
Yep.
at a very, very high level, right? What do you see in terms of Indian MMA? Do you think that in the next year or so, do you think Indian fighter can win in the UFC?
Well, 100%. I think let's wait for Puja Tomar's debut.
June, right?
8th June, she's fighting in Louisville, Kentucky, and she's got an excellent opponent, a very skilled opponent. So
Puja's training at?
She's training at Soma.
She's training at Soma right
training
now.
at Soma.
And will you be heading to Louisville as well?
No, I don't have a visa, and
I
don't have the American visa, and if I try right now, I'll get my next appointment in maybe January of 2026.
Maybe you should like just play some country music in front of the US embassy.
Yeah.
Speed up
Let me be the Johnny Cash. Bobby Cash.
I like my beer and my guns and my truck and my beer and my truck and my guns and my beer. All right, Rahul, we were talking about road to UFC, right? And the fighters in that. So we've got Angad Bisht. We've got the I think the British
Kiro Sahota.
Kiro Sahota.
British. Let's call him British. He's not Indian.
He's not Indian.
He's not Indian.
British.
जैसे मैंने बताया कि पासपोर्ट से पता लगता है कि कितनी ज्यादा औकात है. He holds a Brit passport.
Yeah, he has a Brit passport, first world passport here. We've got
Priya Sharma.
Priya Sharma, sorry, yes, that was my
Priya
mistake.
Sharma.
We've got Priya Catwoman Sharma. She's fighting as well, excellent fighter. And we've got Kiran Singh fighting, right? She was very active in the SFL and sort of known for like putting on some good fights and stuff. But she's been a little inactive recently. So how did this whole thing come about? Her being called up for road to UFC. Do you have any idea or like?
Yes, I have an idea, and I want to put it on camera as well. First and foremost is the fact that the women's strawweight division is happening at road to UFC for the first time.
First time, yeah.
So last year, say UFC has been thinking, the matchmakers have been thinking of putting the women's strawweight division, and last year I was managing Priya. So had that thing happened, Priya would have been there still, managed by me. But then Priya went to Brazil, and now she's managed by Alex Davis, who's Amanda Riba's coach.
Yeah, I know who he is.
So she's managed by Alex Davis now.
He manages a lot of ATT fighters, right? Yeah, a lot of Brazilian
fighters also.
I think he manages Mackenzie as well, like a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. So it's a new division, and why strawweight? Let's question UFC first. Why there was no women's division, and when they introduced a women's division at road to UFC, why a strawweight?
I guess the most talent available at that weight class.
No, because UFC has a strawweight division. You know, UFC does not, the actual UFC roster does not have women's atom weight or below.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, it's up. They have featherweight, so to speak.
Of course.
Featherweight, bantamweight, and
Bellator also has a lightweight.
Flyweight, and then strawweight. Like, there are 4 women's divisions. One is, you shouldn't count it because it's kind of defunct. The 145 division.
Yes.
So 135, 125, 115.
Yeah.
Right. Like, my only sort of thing is like that I don't think there's enough talent in the smaller divisions.
100%. There is no talent in strawweight, and especially, you know, considering that
atom weight. Sorry, not strawweight. Atom weight. Strawweight pe fir bhi, like strawweight is still like relatively high level.
If you talk about Southeast Asia and South Asia, most of the talent in women's MMA is in 48 kilos or below.
I don't think the UFC give a shit about women's.
Yeah, because they don't have that division.
Yeah,
you know?
They don't have that division.
They don't give a shit about women's MMA as well, I think.
I hope so. I hope they don't. It's a different thing altogether.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Kiran, getting back to
Kiran, you know, let's talk about prospects from the country. So what matchmakers look at Road to UFC is they want young prospects. Road to UFC means a ticket to UFC. So they're looking at prospects. They're looking at younger fighters.
24, 25
with an exemplary fight resume. And Priya Sharma was in. She's 5-1, even though she's sorry, but it's on public domain. It's on Topology. She's 30 plus, but she's excellent fighter. Therefore, she's there. She's 5-1 as a pro fighter. Sonam made it this year, but she has an injury.
Okay. So
Sonam made it. So there was one spot that was empty. And if you look at Kiran Singh's resume, it's pretty good. She's 6-3. She's been fighting since SFL days. She fought at SFL. She defeated Sonam. She was at Kumite Warrior Hunt, which was a reality show, which was a cheap remake of Dana White. No,
Ultimate Fighter.
Which was a remake, Desi remake of Ultimate Fighter. Sorry, मेरी गलती हो गई. वो spelling mistake थी. I meant to say Desi, not cheap. You know.
Desi.
Yeah. So that which was the Desi remake of Ultimate Fighter. She was there, and I think she has a good resume. The only reason why Circuit is not accepting the fact that she's going to Road to UFC is because she's not like Priya. You know, is because she's not like Sonam. Maybe she's a lot Desi, but the Wushu circuit definitely knows her because she's been an active Wushu fighter. And she's good. If someone is 6-3 on Topology,
it's pretty decent.
You know, it's pretty decent, and matchmakers don't differentiate. You know, for UFC matchmakers, India is the territory. They really don't differentiate between kisne hero khela hai ya kisi.
They don't know us.
They don't know. They definitely know MFN. You know, everyone knows about MFN now. But then the tier 2 promotions, they don't know. They don't know.
They don't know the tier 2 promotions.
And for them, you know, Topology is sacrosanct.
Sherdog and Topology.
No, fuck Sherdog. I'm a Topology guy. You know, Topology is sacrosanct. Topology, I'm a Topology editor, and therefore I can say we research a lot before putting a promotion.
I mean, so do Sherdog guys, to be very honest. But then again,
they don't give a shit about they've listed so many fake promotions from the country. They don't research. The kind of research...
the guy who used to work at Sherdog, the real dude, this guy called Jordan Breen, he's the guy who handled Fight. He's left them now. So which is why they're not as,
But I think Topology is the most legit thing out there. It's a separate discussion altogether. But I think let's all respect the fact that at least someone is going to represent India into that territory. I know the division is stacked. It has a lot of Chinese, Japanese, and a couple of Korean girls out there.
Those Chinese girls look deadly.
Yeah, they're all from the PI, but it's a part of the phenomena. आप ये देखिए कि South Asia से कितनी countries से जा रहे हैं लोग. पाकिस्तान से कोई जा रहा है बिल्कुल नहीं. श्रीलंका से कोई जा रहा है बिल्कुल नहीं. बांग्लादेश बिल्कुल भी नहीं.
To be honest, Sri Lanka is a failed country. Like, you know, they're going through their own problems now. Like,
yeah,
I don't
but
think they have the time to send.
They're a part of the subcontinent.
Yeah,
when I say South Asia, we dominate in terms of MMA.
Yeah.
We dictate MMA in South Asia. We're the most successful country. Pakistan does not even stand anywhere.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree. Yeah.
They've had a relationship leverage at one championship, and I think that's over.
Yeah, that's
that phenomena is over. Yeah.
So finally, like, do you think Kiran, in terms of like skill wise, will be able to make it? Do you think she has the capabilities of like taking on like these killers in the strawweight division?
I think the question is whether she's doing a fight camp to make it.
Oh shit! I assume
that's the most relevant.
Like, I'll be really honest. If you've signed on to the fight and you're not doing a fight camp, you should not be fighting.
A legit fight camp to beat that fucking opponent.
Yes.
You already know what your opponent is.
Yeah.
You're
Like,
doing a fight camp to.
That's the question. Do you have any idea if she's like?
I don't think so.
I know Priya is.
Oh, I think a couple of days back she did go to one of those known gyms in Gurgaon, but
Warriors Cove.
Yeah, she went to Warriors Cove. That's what I heard. I don't know. That's not first-hand information.
I know that Priya's been training there, so she's been sharpening her skills.
And Priya has traveled across the globe. She's been
experienced.
Fighting.
So Kiran Singh is now representing us at Road to UFC. Were there any other considerations? We've been talking off camera about where the fuck is Asha Roka, and she was such a dominant force in Indian MMA at the time, and she fought at 1FC, and was she even considered for this spot?
I think as far as Asha Roka is concerned, she's a, I'm not going to say she's a dear friend. She's like a family member. Asha, Himanshu, Puja, all of us were together during COVID, and she's a dear family member, I should say. Where is she is a question that she has to answer, that one championship has to answer. I really hate the fact that she signed with a promotion wherein she's only offered 3 fights, and that too against really high level opponents. All her fights have been very mismatched, and I think that's one phenomena that we have seen over the last couple of years. There is no Indian fighter signed with one championship. You know why? Because we've got informed people like you and I, and we ensure that our fighters don't get signed there.
Yeah, one championship absolutely uses Indians to push other people over.
I mean, look at Stamp.
Forget Stamp. Let's go back, way back.
Oh, Rajinder Meena.
Exactly. If you don't know, there used to be an Indian fighter called Rajinder Singh Meena who was a killer.
Yep.
A killer, absolute killer. They basically took him to 1FC, made him fight this guy called Peter David, who was 3 times his size and had trained and had all of that kind of stuff. So like they bought Rajinder in to lose, to show an Indian flag getting their ass kicked. So as Indian fighters, please be aware that not all promotions are looking out for you guys. So like har promotion pe ladne mat jao. Because they a lot, like again, for example, Punyajit, what happened? You can check out the video on our channel as well. He got screwed over by the Korean promotion, and this is why, like you'll see, Indian fighters.
And I think that's why you should have a manager who understands business. बहुत जरूरी एक manager हो जो जिसको business समझ में आए और जो आपके लिए negotiate कर पाए. बहुत अच्छा लगता है. Fighters actually get happy जब उन्हें किसी अंग्रेज से email आती है. And it has something MMA related to it. I know there's a podcast. No, it's a platform called Millions. They've
never heard of this. What is this?
Yeah, so they are texting, they're sending emails to all the MMA fighters that it's a startup by Bruce Buffer and blah blah blah. And fighters actually have a hard on. They're like, wow, email aaya, Bruce Buffer ka naam likha hai, Angrez ka email hai, MMA hai. So they get excited, but then they need to have someone who's going to show them the reality, and that's when managers come in. And as far as one championship is concerned, पैसा एकदम बेकार है. Indian fighters को वो लेते हैं हारने के लिए. They use us as trash cans. They just want to crush us. अगर आप Stamp Fairtex का career देखोगे तो she has fought Rashi Shinde, she's fought Puja Tomar, she's fought Asha Roka, she's fought Ritu Fogart, and then she became the face of MMA champion at. I mean, they fed her actually. They fed her with a lot of Indian fighters when she was transitioning from Muay Thai kickboxing to MMA, and that's when she became the MMA champion. So sad reality hai. Without prejudice, or maybe with prejudice, but I'll still say without prejudice. One Friday nights जो थाईलैंड में होता है लुम्पिनी में, उसमें 5 या 7 Muay Thai fights होते हैं और MMA fights होते हैं. MMA fights में अगर इंडियन बाहर फॉरेनर्स खेलते हैं तो उनको मिलता है $2,500 खेलने का, 2,500 जीतने का. ये मैक्सिमम है. इंडियंस खेलते हैं तो मैंने इंडियंस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट भी देखे हैं जिसमें खेलने के लिए $1,000 मिल रहा है और जीतने के लिए 1,000 और. And
that's
they make
terrible,
That's peanuts. Like I would never,
absolutely.
I would never fight for that.
How do you survive like this? Yeah, like you can't survive.
And why would you take it just because it's a big promotion? It's on TV. You like the logo, and there's a guy who's giving you a fake narrative, talking as if he's an intelligent ass. You still buy it? Like why? Why? I mean, don't buy it.
So for Indian fighters, be smart. in many ways look for right representation. So look for people who care for you. कि आपके career खराब नहीं होता है. Like it's important that your career is safe.
Yep.
And आपको you don't want to take damage for the future. Right? Like आप जैसे you grow older. Like अभी a lot of people talk about things like CTE, you know, and brain damage and all of these kinds of things. So don't take fights where you're going to get, where you think you have trouble, you know, with these promotions and stuff. Like I'd like to end on this. It's been an incredible podcast. I'd like to end on this. What's your advice for Indian fighters looking to get into foreign promotions right now, in your opinion?
The only advice is be fight ready, have a passport, fight at legit promotions, have a legitimate topology record, you know, have a legitimate resume.
How do they get a legit topology record? Like that's a lot of people don't know who to email or who to talk to or whatever to get their record on there.
Okay. So I'm one of the rare topology editors for Asia region. And how we do bookkeeping for MMA in a particular country, it's very subjective. It's not objective. ठीक है ना? We look at promotion from different aspects. And we also seek insider information to ascertain whether a promotion
real or not,
is real or not.
Legit.
It's legit or not. India में legit ही होते हैं. I think the only shady things that promoters, low-level promoters do is they don't pay. There is no doctors out there. खुदा ना खास्ता किसी के चोट लग गई. There is no medical treatment for them.
I mean, I have a story about that. I don't want to name the event that I was at, but I was at an event and I saw a fighter. Basically, I think he had a collapse, like his lung had collapsed or something like that, and he had no medical help. So a friend and I had to like figure this out in the middle of the night in Bombay. You know, it was quite crazy that way. I'm hoping that in the future there are more organizations that take care of fighters and things like that.
Yeah.
Rahul, where can they contact you? What's your information? Where can they get hold of you?
I'm everywhere there on social media.
What's your
especially
handles?
Instagram.
Your handles?
I'm known as the voice of Indian MMA.
All right.
But just send me an SMS. Send me a message out there. And
one dojo as well is
one dojo as well, but one dojo is a little bit dormant nowadays.
So you can reach Rahul at Voice of Indian MMA on Instagram. Do check him out if you guys want proper representation. He's someone you should talk to. Thank you so much for joining us, Rahul. It's been enlightening.
Likewise.
Podcast.
Yep.
Hopefully we can do this more in the future. Best of luck. And thank you guys so much for joining us today. For the production team at LivMMA, my name's Andrew Lu. Thanks. See you guys next time.